and then wait and have it to pay back lump sum.
Yeah, kind of saying is because now they've got this $5,000 in their bank account that they didn't have. Now they got over time $100 a month instead. And then some extra cash.
And that's a strong approach. You know, some of my thought processes in here is, again, I know he's been looking at a myriad of different vendors and people that can offer this. A lot of times we find ourselves in a scenario if the people have a lower than perfect credit score, but they have $4,000 or $5,000 to put down towards that $15,000 or $20,000 roof, that might make them look a little bit more attractive to someone that's willing to finance the claim and proceed it forward. What is the general joie de vivre for the contractors in the room? From speaking with everyone today, we have a pretty good blend throughout the United States in here. How are y'all finding your claims coming back as far as a cost incurred process? Are you seeing good luck? Yes, sir.
50-50.
So you're saying there's a chance. So
about half of them we can successfully send in an invoice and say that this is what, but you have to have a good homeowner narrative buy-in, and they need to be part of expressing that that's cost incurred. That's only coming from the contractor. We experience a low success with that. But good homeowner involvement, much better success.
So, and again, the topic I picked today was solely to be as foreign from public adjusting as we could. I mean, I can be cheekish and be like, well, how you don't have to finance claim, you call it coastal. That's how you do it. I wanted to find a topic that doesn't suit my needs. It doesn't bring any work back to coastal. I wanted to find a topic that we could talk about and kind of help give back. So what I'm hearing from John and then Conrad just now is the success rate is about a 50-50, but it sounds like the documentation on the front end, a good narrative becomes very strong and important. I honestly don't know because I don't finance roofing stuff. I have, I watch the same Facebook feeds that we're all into. Maybe TJ can give an opinion. How many companies do you know of out there right now that are financing roofing claims?
Well, I'd say that there's more. I'd say there's probably 60% more retail companies out there that are financing versus storm.
Okay.
If it's storm, I'd say less than 20%.
What do you think that difference is from?
Because people in the storm industry aren't taught how to finance a retail model. They're taught how to storm chase.
Okay. Do you find the majority, I'm going to come right to you. Do you find the majority of the ones you know, are they financing in-house or with an external?
They're finding with external. There's so many great programs out there right now that are making it easier for the contractor and the homeowner.
And do you find the majority of these, is it credit sensitive, or is it kind of you have an asset, we can become second on the home or something, you're good to go?
A little bit of all. Like bad credit is good, and then sometimes bad credit is bad. So
yeah.
It just depends.
Okay, I'll buy that. Shoot.
Even in the storm industry, and you're getting your money from the insurance, having a credit line for a homeowner to utilize so that they're not paying $5,000-$6,000 of a deductible out of pocket, and that way they can keep their money in pocket, and it doesn't have to be a low credit score for you to work with somebody to do financing. And I think that that's also something that people don't talk about very often. If you get 12 months saving this cash and you're an investor, I'd rather keep my money in the bank.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that.
And so we use it for that primarily, because in the storm restoration business, the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to ever have the homeowner pay for things out of pocket that they're not going to get paid for properly from the insurance. But I don't ever file a claim unless it's actually going to be paid for properly. So.
Good point. But for us, we have 10 to 15-ish thousand claims a year we touch that were no's that we turn into yes. So I hope you're not missing out on those because they're hard turnovers. But good point. I totally am parallel with you on that. Does anyone find themselves when they go into a new market and you got that first couple days of dead time, like thinking outside of the box? And here's how my box kind of outside, a step out of it. I'm here to do this job, but you're going to have these down days of recovery. Reaching out to local bankers, one of the best things you can do in small areas, reach out to local lawyers. You ever want to find out where to get money and hard money and reasonable? Every attorney in every town knows who those people are. You can find yourself in hard money lenders that are 12-month terms that can turn over, help your clients get it going. Also, my goal, if I was in the roofing industry, which I am on this side of it, I assist when needed, I would be looking at how fast I can build my business and my model and get to a point that instead of buying that first Corvette or new pool, I would be making that money work for me. And I'm going to steal that from you. If I have that $86,000 that I am going to go and buy that Corvette with, I'm going to wait and go ahead and get me a Bentley in about another 4 months. I'm going to start using that money to finance my clients. I was a huge Rodney Dangerfield fan growing up. Back to School just made a huge impression on me. It was a game changer. I probably could have gone somewhere else to learn my business standards and ethics, but it was Rodney Dangerfield for me. If anyone doesn't know, and I'm not quoting his live verbatim, this man cycled in and out of being a comedian for a myriad of reasons. A marriage that was a little rocky. He had been divorced and remarried to the same woman twice or 3 times, I believe. A little bit of a boozer, and yeah, a little bit. And at one point in time, not the best comedian in the world. But he was an aluminum siding salesman. And he got to the point that he was selling so well that one time on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, Johnny had asked him, like, how'd you go from that? Back from siding to this, to that, and back and forth, and this, to that. And it was that. He started financing. His paychecks were so good and his sales were so good. And he did speak of insurance occasionally, even though it was a very different world back then. He was telling people, I'll put the siding on your house and it's no problem. Here's my contract. I'll go ahead and I'll get my sales commission. That's what I live off of. And then he would go around and collect. At the time that he went back into being a comedian full time and his wife agreed to it, he had about $10,000 to $15,000 a month on average coming in from the financing of the aluminum siding. That's pretty insane when you look back in that time period. You're talking about the mid to late 1960s. The average household income was like $7,000 a year at that time. So for me, that's how I look at it. If I'm that contractor and I'm going into this space, and I know we all want to go do all the roofs. We all want to have all the words, all the jobs, all the roofs, all the everything. But I would look at it from a business standpoint of saying, okay, we're capable of producing, 53 or 43 roofs in this current market. Let's go up and do those roofs. I can finance X amount of them. You can do employee share with your guys. Someone putting the roof on. There's a lot of different options you can do to skin a cat, grow very fast, very large, and to make sure you're successful in this industry. The one thing that I know is definitive and paramount in this conversation here today, and everyone might be like, oh, this is the most boring topic in the world. If you don't think that insurance companies freeze you out and stall you out knowing that this problem exists, you're very naive or very foolish. 100%, it's part of their practices. It's not their sole game, but it's part of it. So I'm just trying to bring it to light to the contractors is how are you going to look past that? How are you going to get to the next step and stop? Because essentially when we go from working from someone, we go from living Monday to Friday, check to check. That's what we do. And I see a lot of contractors right now, especially, I'll deal with a few of them that they're stuck in, they just basically took working for someone for working for the insurance company. They're in the exact same position. They're working from job to job, approval to approval, inspection to inspection. For me, I find it ironic when I meet a roofing rep. I mean, I'm talking a genuine salesman or woman, like a salesperson, just great at it. And they tell me they're going to their 4th insurance inspection on a house. It's like the smartest dumb person you ever met. If you're going to 4 insurance inspections as a contractor, I assure you, you've done it wrong in some manner. That doesn't mean it's not working for you. You've just done it wrong. There is no reason a sales rep who can be knocking doors and getting contracts signed should be entertaining that type of a situation, that type of a scenario. For us, the way that we're structured, the way that we speak with our staff, I get laughed at here if any of the attorneys are in the room. I got my contractors up here, PAs are right here, and the attorneys are down here. Where other people like to go, well, man, you're the lawyer, PA, roofer. You're the freaking contractor, for God's sakes. You're the one that is certified, licensed, and able to go do that roof. You are an expert in your own space. And yet we're living in this world where, and it's a lot of the younger reps I'll see with the bigger companies where there's like 19 salespeople, 25 or 30 or 80. It's more the sales people that work there that are just, what's that? Okay, 750. But you get these reps and they're like, yeah, man, I don't need to hear anything from PA, man. Like I'd knock out insurance claims left and right. And I'm like, how many times are you going out there? Well, we do like after initial client meet, and then we come back the next day, we measure it out, take a look at it, make sure the client's still happy, which I will say the roofing reps, man, they're always worried about their clients. It's amazing the relationship they build with these clients. So I come back next day, make sure we're still good. Someone else didn't knock. And then, following week, I'm out for the insurance inspection and I'm jamming that full replacement estimate down his throat, which triggers them to go, well, my manager says I now have to get an engineer. So I'm back out for that engineering inspection. And then we find some new information. I get that adjuster back out so I can argue with him a little bit longer. And then they still say no. Well, that methodology is probably going to get you there every time. So I'm looking at it as, why not meet them out there? Why not go to that first inspection? And if they say, hey, this roof's repairable or this roof's just a slope, like, all right, cool. We can give it a try. And that's when you go and watch a bunch of stuff John makes and you get your arguments together. But why jam that full replacement estimate down their throat day one? And that is where I see a lot of people getting stuck on this initial payment. Like, hey, cool. I'm glad I met you out here. I'm not licensed to argue with you about this roof. I don't necessarily agree with you, but I'm also going to be open-minded. Go ahead and write for whatever it is you think you see. Now, I know what you're going to get to is when they give you 8 shingles, that's one thing. But when they go ahead and they buy that slope, so you may not be in a great world right now if they buy that slope, but if they get the person next door slope, you got 2 slopes. At least you got enough to get started. You can get one of those houses in full production. Hopefully your profit and your margins will allow you to finance the one next to it, or vice versa, or half of each. So now you start getting them into production, into production. Another thing I see a lot of the reps do, in my opinion, that just, this is a Florida thing, they go running straight over to every tile roof in the world because there's a lot of money in tile. While the other 750 architectural roofs on a 25 square neighborhood they passed up are getting replaced and paid for, and they are standing on that tile roof. That is going to make them so much money that, 2 years from now. And again, I know the PA firm. I'm friends with the owner. He's right. In 2 years from now, the bottom line, when we onboard a client on a tile roof that's 50, 60 square, we explain to them that, yes, you have good ordinance and law. Yes, you have good physical damage. Yes, you have good pedigree. We've looked at the inspection reports, but there is a defense rate scale that the insurance company is going to look at, and they're going to go, wow, well, this is a $280,000 roof. We can spend 15, 20 grand defending it. They will stretch that out. So when we inevitably onboard those over to an attorney at some point, likely happens, or a mediation or something along those lines, we explain to that client that this might be a 12 to 24 month road. It's just the reality of it. They're very expensive. And let's look at it from the insurance company's perspective. There's a lot of exposure there. They don't want to make a mistake. So not that expensive a mistake. Little mistakes, not as bad. So we run into that problem. But at the same time, you've got everybody running over to these giant tile roofs instead of looking at the roofs that are going into production, getting paid, moving forward. Someone's being open-minded like you, telling the people to sit on that little bit of money, use the financing, do this, do that. Why are we just consistently seeing this a problem? And how do we as an industry solve it? It's really cool. I don't have the right answers here. I'm just asking the right questions, but maybe we'll get through this together. What's up, buddy? Mm-hmm.
But at one point I was sending about 5 deals a month over to Vince, just denials that he didn't turn over for me. When I left that roofing company, went to work for him, I actually on the side started working for another roofing company. And something that I found them doing consistently got them that bad first get-go of the small check starting the job was they were sending their estimate the day they met the adjuster on the site. And I've gotten mixed reviews from a lot of people and said this way or that way. But I'm telling you, working on both sides of it, consistently I get a better response as a contractor if I hold back on what I want. If I go out there, I do the inspection, I find out what the insurance company wants to do, I let them show their hand, they say, well, we'll cover this much of this slope. And now I can say, as a contractor, can't speak as a PA if I'm acting as a contractor, but as the contractor's rep, I can say, well, per Florida building code, I can't do that repair because of this, this, and this, so therefore your repair needs to do this. That tends to get me a lot more momentum on those deals.
So that's some fun. I want to talk about that. You brought up some good points there. I worked for insurance companies for about 15 years. I will tell you that I absolutely despise someone showing up to a first inspection going, here you go, full replacement estimate. And I'm like, cool. I am super excited to see that you actually thought there might be a repair option here. Now, sometimes they'd be like, no, we actually did try repair. Let me go show you. And I'd be like, well, try a better one, but for the most part, it could be received differently. But 9 times out of 10, someone shows up and here you go, full repair. Like, cool, we're on a 3-year-old roof. That's awesome. Full repair, huh? That's kind of frustrating, and I agree with you. I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think meeting them there, letting them draw their own conclusions. I was also never a big fan, like if a roofer had his ladder up, He's like, you can use my ladder. I'd be like, man, screw you. The insurance won't let me. I'd be like, no, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I'd use this ladder. Like, that's malarkey, the stuff they say about the insurance and they can't touch your ladder and da-da-da-da-da. But I didn't like when I got up there and the roofer had already chalked out the whole roof. It was okay if it was super mild, it was astute, and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, they didn't use 78 different colors of chalk, so now I can go against them and mark mine in a different color. Like a relationship like that, even though they're not seeing eye to eye at the word Jump Street, it felt better. But yeah, when you get that jammed down your throat and full replacement, and 19 colors of chalk and all that stuff. And another thing that kind of drove me a little crazy was I would always hear the contractor tell me, we're actually a GC, so we're going to be getting overhead and profit on this. And I'm like, well, cool. First off, there's already overhead and profit on the roofing componentry, but if there's additional overhead and profit needed, I get it. But they would not mark any of the fence damage, the sliding glass door, the garage door. And it was like, well, wait a minute, if you're a full GC, why aren't we doing a full inspection here? Why are we doing part of an inspection? So that's also, yeah, that is one of my favorites. Yeah, there's 9 water stains in there, but we don't do that stuff, so I'm done. Yeah, like you're missing all that on the inside. So as frequently it is when I speak, it kind of goes a little off path and on path at the same time. I think we have about 3 to 5 more minutes. Oh, cool. We can talk a lot. No, we're going to do the drawing in a minute. We're going to draw pictures of me on a roof. No, I'm kidding.
Just kind of talking about the financing a little bit. I think a lot of it comes down to how it's introduced. And now, especially in Florida, contingency agreements are a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody steps in front of someone and the homeowner asks, how much is this? And it's for insurance proceeds. And when you have to transition that into doing financing, regardless of what the monthly payment is, or regardless of what it is, that's a difficult transition to make in front of a homeowner from, hey, don't worry, insurance covers it, deductible, and then now financing if you're not upfront and set the expectation directly from the beginning.
It's just like 16 awesome points. One of my favorite things to do when I work for insurance companies when someone had AOB and they're like, yeah, for the roof. And I'm like, cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and make a payment for this for like $12,000 and you say it's 30. And then we're going to have the attorney get a PFS off for a proposal for settlement. And you just bought yourself the cheapest roofing job you ever did. It's a rub. And the contingency agreement, I'm cognizant of them, but we don't work with them like that. It's a rub because how do you finance something that's not got a dollar amount attached to it, that you're kind of walking it down the road? I think the right answer, and because we know one another, I know that you don't entertain these things. The right answer is it's an honest number. But a lot of the people, a lot of the players are trying to say this number over here, but if it gets to here, I want this number. And that's what started all of this. So if the contractors are going in, and regardless of what estimatic platform they're using, if they're, it's itemized and it's like cash or carry or insurance, I don't really care. This is going to be the number. It's contingent on the insurance company opening this up. You really should be off to the races. I had a contractor recently come sit in a class and he's like, I don't need to know nothing, man. All I do is win, win, win. He started quoting the rap song. And then a couple of his buddies started backing him up. They were like hype men, which was cool. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I get re-nailed roof decking every day of the week. And I'm like, cool. He's like, and I'll get roof decking replacement every time I need it. And I'm like, awesome. And he's showing me some of the pictures of the files he's in. And I mean, I'm talking the gutters are wrecked, the soffits are falling down, there's hail dents all over the outside siding. But what he was doing is he was doing like full contingent agreement to get in the roof. The insurance company was going, you're going to sign a release if we get you like another $4,000 for the roof decking? And they're like, yeah, because I win. And then they would leave that other $38,000 worth of damage just off to the side. That's dangerous slope when it's transferred over as a contractor job over to a roof job, or a roof contractor over to a full contractor. Some of the other things that I see that are pretty frustrating is like when the roofing people and the roofing reps and the sales people are like, it's this, but I argued this. And then it gets to the PAs and then the PAs close the door and go, man, they don't realize why they got that paid for, but whatever they got it paid for, great. And then the attorneys close the door on the PA and they go, none of these guys realize why any of that got paid for, but they got it paid for. So there's like all these steps throughout the claims process. And I think we all know in this industry is we learn every day, we grow every day, we learn a little bit more every day, we come to things like this. it's that rep that's in that space, or that young roofing business owner, or the old roofing business owner, that is starting to get closed-minded, not look for more options. Oh, I hate public adjusters. I hate public adjusters. I worked against them for years. I like some too. They're not always the right tool. They're not always the wrong tool. Attorneys, not always the right tool, not always the wrong tool. GC, not always the right tool, not always the wrong tool. And sometimes roofing contractor, not always the wrong tool, right tool. I mean, if you have a 2-square repair, most municipalities, you're looking at a handyman. Although as a roofer, I would be hyper frustrated that it's cool for a handyman to go up there and open up a roof. But nevertheless, we find multiple municipalities that allow it, until you go and file a proper building permit. And you say, hey, just to be clear, Mr. Building Official, you are going to allow someone that's unlicensed on this, on that, to open up this roof and go back with non-standard compliant material to do a roof repair. Here's my permit. If you could reject that for me, please, so I have it. And then you go back to the insurance company and get paid. Explaining that to the homeowner is difficult. We have that problem, the same problem that the average roofing contractor has with the handyman, we have with roofing companies. You know, we're like, hey, we'll help you out on your claim. And they're like, my roofer said he'll do it for free. And he argues against insurance companies all the time. So as long as we're all standing in one another's sandbox, I'm sure attorneys love it when they hear public adjusters quoting case law and statute and stuff. That's a fun time. But as long as we're all kind of standing in one another's lanes, we're going to continue to have these problems. The one thing I will tell you, the insurance companies have done very well. They spend time, they organize, they get together. They're aware of what's going on, even if they don't have the same type of a company. If one's a mutual, one's for-profit, one's this, one's that. They're all very parallel on how to prevent this problem, how to prevent what they consider to be abuse. I'm sure there is abuse that is out there and exists. I don't frequently see it, but that's not the kind of people I'm surrounded by. It's not the people in my network, if you will. So any other thoughts on financing? Go ahead, man.
Could you talk to, and I think a lot of it is, one, having the people and the crew to do it, but I think the other part is the financial burden of that. Like, go ahead and that repair is done, will they be compensated for the repair and the replacement? If you could help speak on
That is like literally going on a first date and saying, if I buy you a drink, what's going to happen tonight? But I get your point. When it comes to repairs, I look at it a few ways. If the insurance company tells the client, hey, you have to, under conditions, show damaged property as often as we reasonably request. Like, I want to leave that damaged property. So if I get an estimate, and I'm not implying any of you should try this, just use it as some mental food of thought. If I get an estimate for 9 hail damaged shingles on a roof, I am going to have the roofing contractor go take the 9 that aren't damaged out, because I'm going to assume they're telling us to check for repairability. And I want to still maintain that damaged property as often as reasonably requested. Now, if the insurance company is going to get strong enough to say, hey, organized enough, prepared enough to say, hey, we want you to take out those 9 damaged shingles that we indicated, then I'm going to ask them for a little bit of mapping or a little bit of input or another inspection to go over that with them. I'm also going to ask, if this is a prescribed repair methodology that you're going to go down, would you mind having your adjuster or your engineer come back out and be on site while we perform these repairs to assist? If they're not willing to do that, like, then you're kind of in a little bit of a stick bowl. But to answer your question, let's think about, this is always so much easier to transfer to a kitchen, a water loss. Nobody in this room probably works them except for the PAs. If you have a granite countertop and a water damaged cabinet, and they pay for the water damaged cabinet, and they reasonably say detach and reset the granite, and you and I lift up and it goes, they owe for that now. They will pay for that now. So to answer your question on the repair, I would take that approach just the same. I am also a big fan of stop ugly repairs and leave ugly temporary measures. I see a lot of people send in videos of what's Matt call them? Some fake repair hub, simulated repair. Sorry. I'm a big fan of, if you take that shingle out and it breaks, let's get some waterproofing in there and button it up and leave it right there. And let's maintain that shingle and wait for that next inspection. I wouldn't jam another shingle in there that doesn't match and put a bunch of nails in. Yes, sir.
Can I add to this?
Yeah, I'd love it.
So, you've already mentioned 2 of the things that are really relevant, that when you're being asked to do that, what do you want us to use? Where do you want us to start? And what happens if it fails?
You're so nice that you said if, because we know it's going to.
Right, but you're implying that it may or may not, because some adjusters don't like the assumption that, instead of saying when it fails, you're saying if,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because from the adjusting end, you probably don't like the whole idea of, oh, he's already saying when it fails. Right?
Exactly.
Because they either email back and they say, here's the product we told you to use through this report, and we can't tell you how to do it. Bingo. They've just put it right down in front of you. Like they can't do a prescriptive repair in that process, right? But it sets you up for the next step that when you take it out, if they've told you what happens when it fails, you already know that they've agreed to that slope or the next piece of coverage. But you have a responsibility to cover it up. Now that creates the next billable piece, the next action, the reinspect, and it shifts the burden because a lot of what we have happen is they want to get the burden off their plate back to the homeowner, the contractor. And now I've built that up, set it up just like you said. And then when it fails, we had an if it fails scenario.
And now we have a win.
Now we've got the ability to shift the burden back to them to review it and do something else with it. And I don't like the burden on my plate. I don't like going out there 4 or 5 times like you said. If it looks ridiculous, I'll ask you a good question. Then burden's yours.
Yep. So, yeah, so she's doing what John's doing, which is 2 beautiful things just there. Transference of risk. It's what insurance companies literally do for a living. They transfer the risk away from themselves and collect money. And then, like you're saying, the breadcrumbs. For me, if I'm the contractor, I've got my team. I got the one guy, it's like 58, that's got the knee that's bothering them. Cool. You're the insurance guy that's going to do the inspections for the week. Have 35 shingles in the car. Do them while they're there. Get that person. Say, do you have the ability to approve this? We can attempt this. We both agreed there's damage. Can we proceed forward with this now? Yes. Cool. Let's go ahead and try that now. Sometimes you will find, because I mean, hey, let's face it, how many adjusters you met? They're almost all failed contractors that could not make it as a contractor. It's just the truth. So you're getting up there with them. You might start to build a relationship with them that's honest and legitimate. And they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, you know what? I see that one just cracked. What do we do here? I get a lot of claims that come across where the roofer just goes and they're just running down that hill and they're going to put another shingle in. They're going to nail it off. And you know what? From 30,000 foot elevational view, it's not horrendous looking, but it's not watertight anymore. But they stop doing that. If you get to the point and it breaks and it fails, throw a piece of whatever, felt, whatever works in your market in there and leave the ugly repair. Don't try to make it look pretty because you're hurting us. Shoot.
The other advantage to the tarp is if you're using a synthetic paper, they all have something in their insulation guide that says it has to have the surfacing material over it in 30 or 60 days.
Right.
90, maybe if we're a really, really nice one. In Florida, you guys have some extreme ones, right? But you have the ability to now set a parameter on the burden that you've shifted back by saying,
Ticking
put
time clock.
Temporary application on. We only have 30 days before this application has to be redone for another $750, or a decision needs to be made on this. Because it is. You set up service, breadcrumbs. Like you're just constantly trickling the burden back and the cost back in the process. And it makes a huge difference in how they have to think about it. And it's very technical. It's logical. It's on point. I always use a 30-day covering, and I show them that we're going to come back in 30 days. Here's your time window.
I could not agree more. Building a strong file, having a good conversation, moving forward, talking to your local bank, finding your local people, financing your options. From a business development standpoint, you have groups like Vonage and Nexus out there. Join them. Learn what a J-curve is if you're newer. If you're in that J-curve bubble, let's go ahead and push that brand new F350 Platinum off a few years. Start allowing to do what she said before, which is make your money work for you. Finance a couple of jobs. See how it works out when that $800 every month is coming in or $650. Speak with your accountant. Make sure you're setting yourself up for the least amount of vulnerability as far as rights and this and that. If you're going to go down those roads, or reach out to people about companies that do financing. But in the interim, document the claim and do it well. That's his way of telling me to shut up.
Oh, hey, man.
What's up, dude?
You ready to, we got to do some drawing.
Let's do it.
We got to do, we've got Leslie coming up and Shield. We want to make sure we respect their time. But we're ready to draw. We have 5 prizes.
What's that?
We have 5 prizes.
We have multiple prizes for, I'm going to tell you, the prizes we have outside of the cash, I will leave y'all to reach out to TJ directly. And as long as you were in attendance, he will figure out a raffle system for those. They're going to be something like a free PA assignment, a free commercial appraisal, not including umpire fees, free residential appraisal. They're on the list. You can set that up. So there's no reason to do that live. There might be some people downstairs that would benefit from that. You want
Is this for the 500?
300, 200? No, I'm kidding. Yes, sir. No, not that one.
Miss Signs?
No, the rest of them you can do the appraisal inspections.
Let's do that.
Well, go ahead and do them. Knock them out now.
We're gonna go ahead and knock out the other.
Come on up.
The first one. Oh, here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The first one that we're gonna do is one free residential PA file handling in Florida. All right. Any of Florida? All right.
Little blind pastures.
Brian Lassie. Let's go, man. Hey, I'll make sure we get with you.
If it's a state we're licensed in and you're working in it, we'll
He's here
extend.
in Florida.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
All right, the next one is going to be 2 free residential appraisals with no umpire fee. Excuse me. And that's going to be Jeremy Sizemore from Coastline Claims.
Oh, wait a minute.
All right, 1 free commercial appraisal, no umpire fees. Tom Pappas. And last but not least, 2 free Florida mediations.
If you're a roofing contractor and you'd like to handle your own files, this will be about the best prize you can win.
Kerwin Pacheco. Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to get ready to get started with Leslie Gustafson from, yes. Oh, whoa.
Nice.
That's worth $750.
It's gonna come out of Jeff's budget, not mine.
If you need his phone number. Oh,
It's in there. That's right.
here. I can't. Mark D'Amico.
Nice.
Here we go.
Then 1, 2, 3,
All right, in
4.
closing, I'm not on mic. Anybody here that has
No,
any questions
do it
for me or ever wants to talk
number,
about
so,
anything, my
you know,
cell
one,
phone number is
the-
386-689-6896. Give me a call.
If you want to email them, you can. So what we said, we're gonna have Jason just email you. We've got all your email addresses. He'll email you, and then Eagle View, we'll give you that card, and then y'all can catch up together. All right, Matthew Mulholland, can you help me get this computer set up, and then we'll get ready to go. Please hang out. We got another about hour. I say another hour and a half, and then we're gonna get started with the hail cannon firing. Leslie's going to talk for approximately 45 minutes, and then we're going to go straight into John Sinek, who's got like a really awesome presentation. He's going to do something special, so please don't roll out just yet because he spent a lot of money on this presentation, like a lot of money. And then we're going to shoot the hell out of with that shit.
All right. Where's the mouse there?
Leslie.
Yeah.
I can't mic you. Right. And then the other one is for the where's the voice or for overhead? Where's the overhead?
What?
The overhead. Loudspeaker.
Oh.
Is that it?
No, this one.
Okay.
Oh, I need.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
You just put that on.
and
On the other
up
side.
here.
Up high.
Yeah,
There we go.
that's for the overhead speaker.
She's on.
Might as well.
Do you help?
No, I'm good. Might as well. Got the real thing. So are we good or good to go? All right. Thanks for sticking it out with us today. I'm Leslie Gustafson, here also with David Summerly. We're here representing EuroShield Rubber Roofing. And for us, this is a really exciting event to be a part of because it's really what we do. We are roofing ahead of the curve. So we're here from a product point of view. That's where we really specialize. We've been doing it for 23 years. And it's something, let's see. Yeah, it's something where it's fun to be here as a team as well. David joined us this year, but he's been building his experience and contributing to the roofing world now for a few years. And so if you have any questions as we go along, please just let me know. Part of when you look at roofing ahead of the curve from a product point of view, if you look at really what the industry is today, it is a disposable roofing product for the majority of the industry. And so with that, especially in areas where there's a significant amount of weather, you've got premature failures, which is filling landfills and also consuming excess resources because we continue to do the same thing over and over again. And so earlier this week, there's a video released. It was published by Business Insider. Explains a little bit from a roofing industry point of view in North America, what we consume the most of, asphalt shingles, what's really happening, even if you take it to a shingle recycler. So, let's see. See if I can figure out how to play this. Nope. Oh. I think Matt lied to me. He said it would play if I click the button. Anybody? All right. I don't know how to get to the link. That's my problem. Oh, let's see. There, maybe I think I got. I had the cursor for a second.
About 13 million tons of
Oh, all right. So I want to flip.
That will be laid on U.S. highways.
Where is the mouse?
I don't know.
Stop. Stop.
That will be laid
Stop.
on U.S.
Oh
highways.
my God. Okay. Let's do that. We can then go
Yeah.
escape.
If we just
Now
go back
we can do
and
whatever. So let me go back to
let's. I'm right there. Slide 3. Click right. And this is.
that. Let's see what happens if we do it again this way.
Yeah, because it wasn't giving me
it
the
wasn't
mouse.
embedded.
Yeah, it's not.
American roofs each year.
All right.
Right here.
The popular roof covering can often be repurposed,
What's that?
but typically ends up in
All the
landfills.
material I need for that podcast, right
Companies
here.
that make
All the questions I'm gonna ask,
sure
right here.
when it's recycled. But those sustainability pledges
Making anyone accountable. They're not going to make contractors accountable. They're not going to make landfill accountable. If landfill plans to do it, they're not going to come and investigate if they're actually doing it.
Not to mention, America isn't even building enough roads to use up all this waste. So the vast majority just keeps piling up. In 2021, one of the nation's biggest roofing manufacturers announced that it figured out how to turn used shingles back into new ones. But in an industry plagued by empty recycling promises, can this technique keep one of the most popular roof types from becoming worldwide? Each asphalt shingle starts out as a thin sheet of fabric. It's coated in asphalt, which usually comes from crude oil. Then it's topped with tiny rocks, minerals, and metals. The technique was probably invented in the early 1900s, but cheaper wood shingles were more popular until the 1930s, when a push for fire safety forced towns across America to switch to asphalt. Some shingle makers also started adding a fire-resistant fiber in the base sheets that we now know to be poisonous.
It was natural that the scientists would turn to asbestos, for this is a remarkable mineral.
Millions of American workers were exposed before the risks became widely known. Though it's rare, some of this stuff could still be sitting on top of older houses today. So recyclers still have to be careful.
Obviously, we do not want to take asbestos-containing material and grind it up and liberate the asbestos into the atmosphere.
Manufacturers switched to a new material for the sheets in the 1970s.
Fiberglass, a fascinating manufacturing process.
So asphalt shingles stayed popular. Today, industry sources say about 3/4 of U.S. homes are topped with them, and the whole industry is worth about $7 billion. They work well in lots of climates and are often the cheapest option up front. But the mix of ingredients makes recycling them pretty tricky.
When asphalt and those materials sit on a roof for many years, those materials age and degrade. Being able to reclaim those materials can be very, very challenging.
So for years, the main way to recycle shingles has been to grind them into a fine powder that can be mixed into roads. Hundreds of trucks full of shingles arrive here every day. Most of them have been torn off old roofs. A waste management company called Demcon buries most of that stuff in its landfill. But about 1/4 of what they receive is leftover scrap from shingle factories that's cleaner and cheaper to process.
Manufacturers right now are generating enough waste material to meet the demands of the hot mix asphalt market.
An excavator dumps the shingles into a grinder. A screen separates big pieces from small ones.
1/4 inch and smaller ends up in one stockpile.
The larger pieces go through it all again. Then road makers mix this sandy black powder into asphalt pavement. It takes the place of fossil fuels and ingredients that have to be mined, which cuts down on greenhouse gases. When there's enough demand, they do process used shingles, but it gets messy.
We have laborers on a conveyor belt picking up the plastic, picking up the pop cans, picking up the wood, tree branches, any of the contamination. It's very labor intensive, very challenging.
What's also challenging is keeping track of who's actually recycling which kinds of shingle waste. So for example, one of the world's biggest roofing companies, called GAF, keeps a list of recycling options on this website. The goal was to make it easier for contractors to recycle asphalt shingles. We found Demcon listed as an option. But Demcon had told us that it only recycles a small fraction of the used shingles arriving in those trucks every day. When we asked GAF about it, it said its website lists places that accept shingle waste, but acknowledged that recycling options are limited, and the vast majority of tough shingles go to landfills. After we reached out, GAF added a clarification about Demcon, and it took 3 other Minnesota facilities off its list of recyclers. The specifics can be hard to pin down, but there are some states where recycling used shingles into roads seems to be working. Next door to Minnesota and Wisconsin, shingles used to make up 6% of landfill waste. Over the last 2 decades, that's gone down to just 0.1%. But adding in too much ground roofing material can make roads more brittle. That means more potholes, which are usually caused by extreme temperatures. Only about half the states allow shingle waste in their roads. In 2015, Colorado regulators officially declared shingles can't be recycled at all. That's because recycling companies were getting paid to take the waste, then just letting it pile up. In Texas, a failed roofing to roads venture from 2018 left behind a mountain of shingles. Piles like these can contaminate nearby air, soil, and water. And where recycling efforts fall through, Shingles are taking up more and more space in landfills, which are filling up in some states.
We do believe at some point communities are going to forbid asphalt shingles from going into landfills.
That would be a huge problem for companies like GAF, which says its product is on a quarter of all American homes. It says better recycling techniques are a must.
We figured if we could do this, we could probably save, quite honestly, the asphalt roofing industry.
It took over a decade of research to develop the company's recycling method. GAF engineers had to make sure recycled shingles would be as strong, durable, and weather resistant as brand new ones. And they couldn't be more expensive than the alternative.
All of the sustainability efforts should be at cost neutral or better.
Engineers here say they cracked the code. The company opened up this demonstration plant last year.
Roof tear-off is brought into the facility and sorted and inspected to make certain that the material is of sufficient quality to go through our process.
That means the shingles can't be mixed with any other waste.
The shingles are ground into roughly silver dollar sized pieces.
And magnets filter the mixture at several stages in the process.
Nails and other metallic contaminants are removed and then are funneled into metals recycling processes.
The nail-free blend gets ground down even more.
To separate out the asphalt-rich parts of the waste stream from the asphalt-poor parts of the waste stream.
These machines grind, shake, and sift the mixture until the rocky granules are filtered out.
We need to drive the purity of our asphalt briquettes as high as possible to make shingles with recycled content that perform as best as possible.
This machine presses the asphalt mixture to make it more portable.
The asphalt briquettes are dissolved in virgin asphalt and used to make new shingles.
But at first, new shingles will only contain about 7% recycled material.
Our intent is to get to 40 to 50% recycled content in the shingles.
To do that, GAF has to do more research and scale up.
Our ultimate goal by 2030 is to have enough capacity across the US to be diverting at least 1 million tons of shingle waste per year from landfills into our process.
That would still be less than a tenth of the old shingles that get torn off American homes each year.
I think it's a good start. Do I think it's enough to save us in the next 5 years from filling up landfills with asphalt shingles? I don't.
But the company says that eventually, all of its shingle plants will use at least some of the recycled briquettes and granules. Ultimately, companies don't have to keep their sustainability promises. But one former industry player wants to hold them accountable. Dmitry Lipinski installed roofs for 7 years, and often found he had nowhere to take used shingles besides landfills.
One of the most frustrating things was to dump shingles on landfill, but also seeing marketing promise that manufacturers asking us to pass to the homeowner.
He says exaggerated recycling claims sway consumers toward asphalt shingles.
We're influencing buying decisions and misleading homeowners from real green options. I think more homeowners would pick a different roofing system if they knew the truth.
As a contractor who made a living installing roofing, we found it difficult to challenge shingle producers to do better.
And if you're in the game, it's very hard to go against manufacturer or expose manufacturer because they might not sell you shingles.
So he sold his business in 2021 and launched a YouTube channel about the industry.
We expose the bad, the ugly, and highlight the best practices. Welcome back to the Roofing Insights channel, where you can find the truth about roofing. This manufacturer saying the same thing. We are the leader. We recycle. We're sustainable. We are green.
Most major manufacturers say their roofs last for decades, but storms can shorten that. Dimitri says other options might actually cost less in the long run.
You might pay double or triple for rubber shingle, but that shingle will last 30, 40 years.
Still, asphalt shingles rule the North American market. But globally, alternatives like clay, metal, wood, and concrete roofs are often more popular and can last longer. Of course, every roof needs to be replaced eventually. And GAF acknowledges that suppliers need to take responsibility for where their product ends up.
Anything that you're making, you should have some understanding or at least consideration for what happens to those products. I just think it's part of good corporate hygiene and citizenship.
Oh,
G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me. Are you worried about the rising cost of food, or even worse, a food crisis running out
right,
of
where's
food? No food at all. Well, worldwide.
okay? So for sure, recycling, it absolutely is important. Going from no recycled content to 6 or 7% to 40 or 50% makes a difference. But where's that 50 or 60% going that can't be recycled back into the stream? Yeah, maybe you end up with half of it because overall our population continues to grow. But is that really good enough? Is our goal really to continue to cover roofs with a product where you have to continually tear it off and recycle it and use all kinds of resources to do so? Certainly it's a step in the right direction, but there are definitely other things that we can do in making products that are more durable, that last longer, that protect homeowners and their assets, and where they also don't have to go through the pain of having their roof replaced as often. At EuroShield, we really have two core pillars. One of it is, of course, protecting your home. We do that from the standpoint that we're building a product that is a rubber shingle. So really, we're going to have some fun here in a bit, but it can withstand impact better than anything else. When you take rubber that can dissipate all kinds of energy, and so not only is it not cracking the shingle, it's also protecting the deck as well. There's no surface coating to it. So because you have no paint, because you have no granules, there's nothing to come off and cause a failure of the product due to that. So what can we as manufacturers continue to do? If you look at the synthetics industry, it's a small part of what our industry is. We're maybe 1% of the roof covering in the U.S. So but we're to a point where we're about a 25-year-old industry if you look at it. The majority of them are polymer, plastic-based products. What we do at EuroShield is substantially different in the amount of rubber that we use. But certainly when you look at the impact rating of the synthetic category, we are not the only product that can withstand bigger impacts. There are others out there in the synthetic world. Because it is about a 25-year-old industry, that means that there's a lot to learn. There's a lot that has been learned. You never get it right the first time. Anybody in the synthetics industry has had things go wrong, and you're either learning from them and building a better product through formula changes, through design changes, or you die. It's that simple. And so it's really thinking about us as manufacturers, what should our goal be? But you also, what is your goal when you build a company here, probably for some reason, whether it's to grow, to be better? What is it, what are your goals when it comes to roofing ahead of the curve in terms of doing things better for your community, your clients, and your employees and yourself? So again, as far as being ahead of the curve, that's where at EuroShield, not only are we doing it from a protection point of view for the homeowner, but the second pillar is that environmental aspect. And what we're doing as far as protecting our environment or conserving our planet comes down to using recycled content on the front end. Recycled tires either don't have enough tread or they've been punctured, so they can no longer go down the road. But what do? They still hold water. What do you need a roof to do? Hold water out of your house. So with that, it also it's a product that has far too much potential to incinerate it or do different things with it. So if you can find a way to reinvent it, to repurpose it, it's much better than just having to burn it to make the problem go away. And it's part of the challenge. The reason that recycled tires build up over time is because at the end of the tire process, you're basically vulcanizing that tire, injecting that surface with sulfur, and you can in 2022 cannot economically reverse that process out to make a product that melts the same way, which is why we have so many tire piles around the planet. And so a little bit about our background. So like I said, we are a 23-year-old company. The founder, Henry Camphius, was a general contractor. And so he, as a human, is extremely driven to always excel in anything he's done. It doesn't mean it doesn't matter if it's framing buildings, playing golf, playing pool, or making, in my opinion, the most unique roofing product on the market today. And so that's how he started. He was, okay, we have so many used tires. It's a tough product. What can we do with it? Calgary, Alberta, Canada, extreme temperature fluctuations. With that, there's a lot of stucco there. And so whenever you have extreme temperature variations, it's hard not to get cracked stucco. And so he made a rubber base that he would put behind that stucco so that it wouldn't get the same cracking effect that it does when it's on a cement base. So once he had that in play, he's like, okay, what else can I do with this? And that's when he figured out, okay, how do I make this into a shingle? What we do injection mold. It's something when he started, he was told by expert injection molders that you can't injection mold rubber. So what we do is pretty unique from that situation. There's a lot of processing that goes into it. And really, at this point, through 23 years and formula changes, design changes, we've got a product at this point that we literally warrant for hail proof, as well as superior wind performance because it actually physically interlocks into itself. And really, so what is what has been the result of these efforts? Take a look at what we can do. This is just a quick video to show the differences in what happens with different products. So that shingle and plywood went 95 miles an hour and basically ice didn't even see it hardly. So now we're going to fire this one at twice the speed that hail typically travels. Fire this at 183 miles. Obviously, there's a significant amount of mass when you're taking a very dense piece of ice and firing it at 183 miles, 4-inch diameter. You can see how it doesn't break the shingle and just completely dissipates that energy.
So showing that just now, although it didn't damage the Euroshield shingle, did it damage the decking underneath?
At some point with our hail-proof product, that can become the limiting factor. Yes, you can, but that's also something, again, that we ran at twice the speed of hail and a very, very large mass with the size of that. But you're gonna see it for yourself. We'll compare it to different products. It's not that it's completely indestructible, but seriously, bring it on. So. And so when you talk, we at Euroshield, we talk a lot about hail, but hail is not the only potential issue when it comes to impacts. So in golf balls can also be an issue. So this is the Old Course Hotel It sits on the 17th hole, pretty much between the tee box and the hole in Scotland at St. Andrews Golf Course. And they had natural slate on their roof. Ah.
Euroshield Roofing were proud to be the chosen partners to replace the 28-year-old slate roof on the Old Course Hotel, Golf Resort and Spa in St Andrews, Scotland. After a worldwide product search, we opted to use a heritage slate rubber tile to prevent future damage from golf ball strikes and impact of the coastal climate. This composite was also chosen for its environmental friendliness and its accuracy to the previous slate roof colour and texture. We are so confident of the quality of the new roof, Euroshield offered a 50-year product warranty with a hail damage cover. The installation was undertaken by Braesby Roofing Limited of Dunfermline, Fife, which started at the beginning of 2017 and finished in mid-April. We're delighted with the finished product and think you will agree that the new roof at the Old Course Hotel Golf Resort and Spa looks fantastic and will stand the test of time and the Scottish weather. On behalf of the Old Course Hotel Golf Resort and Spa and Euroshield, thank you.
So that the product selection was made back in 2016, and in that case, they really did have a problem, that they had to solve, because they basically had a giant hotel in between a tee box and a hole on one of the most famous courses in the world. And so then that means, and it's can be the professionals as well as all the amateurs going and just wanting to play one of the most famous golf courses in the world. They were spending $2,000 a month replacing natural slate. It was a 28-year-old roof. So even as a product in slate, where you think of it as more durable, it's not that it was excessively old or brittle, but it was taking a pounding from golf balls. And so this is just a quick, let's see. Quick video on Twitter from 2018 to show what happens when you hit a golf ball into a rubber roof. Came right back to him. So, but of course, the advantage for St. Andrews is that they don't have the expense anymore of the roof replacement. So yeah, like we talked a little bit about before, right? It's what can we do as manufacturers to make a product better so it's tougher, so we're not creating an issue for landfills, the environment, and solving the problem for homeowners, as well as the toughness when it comes to hail, wind, being positive for the environment. According to our customers, it's quieter in rainstorms and more insulating in the summer. So there really are some neat things that you can get from using recycled tires as your main ingredient. And then, like we talked a little bit about before, no coatings to fail because of our manufacturing process. There is no surface coating on it, so no issues down the road with granule loss or paint loss. And of course, part of it is, you know, what does it really look like from a customer point of view?
Today we're coming to you from Rapid City, South Dakota. It's a windy city, beautiful city as well. Love being here, but this trip is organized by our friends from EuroShield. We're going to talk to the homeowners who already have EuroShield in their homes. We're also going to talk to a local contractor who installed it. We're going to show you how it performs, how it installs, and why you should consider EuroShield if you live in the hard climate, especially in a hail market, because EuroShield is an awesome rubber shingle that performs way better than asphalt shingle, and we're going to talk about all pros and cons with the product. Let's go.
My name is Leslie Gustafson. I'm president of EuroShield Roofing. EuroShield Roofing is a manufacturer of roof coverings made primarily from recycled tires. So we truly make a rubber shingle. Really, it's focused around two core pillars: protecting your home and conserving our planet. And so with our products, our goal is to build the toughest roof out there to be able to withstand the most difficult weather conditions, whether it's hail, wind, snow, ice, even sea salt. So it's good in hurricanes as well. Because it's 70% recycled tires, it really can handle the extremes very well. Outside of that, because of the products we use and because we're providing a permanent roof, we really are conserving our planet. Our average roof consumes about 300 tires, and then we're keeping waste out of the landfill because our product really is lasting the lifetime of the homeowner. You're not going to have to tear that roof off in 10, 20, 30 years, depending on your location, and place it in the landfill.
So pretty much every roof in this neighborhood has been damaged every 3 to 5 years on average. That house has been replaced at least 3 times that I know of. That house over there 4 times in the last 15 years. I'd say just in the last 5 years, we've replaced some of these roofs even twice. But one house has a different story. This house has only been replaced once, and that was in 2017. And it'll be a long time before it has to get replaced again. This house, and since then, we have had at least 2 damaging hailstorms, but this one largely unscuffed. What's extra crazy about this one, they actually tried to do the right thing already one other time. This house had shingles years ago that got hailed out, so they put a stone-coated steel roof on. That was going to be the last roof they were ever going to put on. And not but 5 years later, really wicked hailstorm comes through, damages the whole thing beyond saving. Large dents, knocked off a lot of the granules off. A lot of the shingles, because they're kind of hollow, they were practically caved in. Replaced. So even though they tried to do the right thing with steel, even that it just isn't enough. So finally they had to get smart and get hail-proof.
Our company has been around for 23 years. Part of being a company that's building a specialty product, it takes quite a few years of research and development and changing and getting feedback from what happens. And so with that history, we're really to a point where we've got a very, very solid, nearly bulletproof product. And we're at a point where we really can launch and are growing really quickly, and we'll continue to do so.
We found WeatherTight by going to the Rapid City Home Show. Clay was our rep, and he was just amazing. It took a year or so, and he was in touch all the time. I felt like the installers were very, very professional, and yeah, I just love everything about it. It's my very favorite roof. I've had 5 roofs since 2001. I get tons of compliments. It's warm in the winter. It's cool in the summer. It's quiet. And what I really love is snow does not fall off of it.
We're prone to some of the same challenges that have happened for manufacturers over the last couple of years, with supply being a challenge. Now, we've made some significant changes and really positioned ourselves well to make sure that even though lead times for raw materials are longer, that we're in a situation where we can provide our contractors and homeowners with product in a 2 to 3 week time frame so that they can get their home protected as soon as possible.
So we're here with Rick with the Pioneer Bank and Trust, and they trusted a new product for their roof. What did you have before?
We had wood shake shingles on the roof before.
How old was the roof?
This building was built in 1985. And so they were roughly 35 years old.
35?
Yeah.
Did this roof experience any hail yet?
Yes, it has experienced some hail.
Really? No damage, no nothing?
We haven't found any damage.
Well, the roof looks good. Would you recommend it to others?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's an excellent product. We had asphalt shingles when we moved in. We had golf ball size hail for about 5 to 10 minutes that destroyed our roof. And so we didn't want to have to replace the roof every year. And so we ended up with this. We get really strong winds up here. We had 115 mile per hour wind last winter. And it's night and day, the difference with the sound of the wind with this roof on compared to the asphalt shingles.
How many squares we have here?
42 squares.
42 squares. How long will it take you to start to finish?
We'll definitely get it done in a day. With this one, there's skylights involved as well, so it's just going to take us a little bit longer. But typically, it's on par with an asphalt shingle.
What is the difference, like from installation perspective? What kind of training or adjustment for the crew do you guys make?
It can take just a little bit longer to make some of the cuts. Obviously, it's a thicker panel than an asphalt shingle.
But you still cut it with a knife, right?
Yeah, still cutting it with standard box cutter. Obviously, you have to make sure your starter's square away and you're going up the valleys as well. So you have different kinds of starter. So it's just kind of making sure you have your quantities in check.
Hand nailing or nail guns? Nail guns. Nail guns. What else requires special attention with the Euro Shield?
We like to use W Valley in all of our valleys. Pretty standard for a premium style shingle, but just making sure that you're taking in on that one. As far as shingles go, it's right on par with anything that you would design or order for shingles.
Are you the sales rep on the job? Do you sell the job?
I'm the project manager. I work with the homeowner picking colors and everything else.
How many colors do Euro Shield have?
4 colors. So this we're installing today is the driftwood. They have black, they have brown, and they have gray. Not a lot of the driftwood. It is a premium color, but I think definitely now that we're installing this one, I think we're going to start installing a lot more of the driftwood because it's going to represent that burnished slate, as opposed to just installing a metal panel that's going to get dented and destroyed by the hail. We can still match the same color pattern that the homeowners would want, and then be actually able to give them the full 50-year shingle.
I would say.
From sales perspective, in this market, is it double price special?
It's all at least double, but it's on par with a metal roof. So I mean,
you still do metal? So push it at all.
I still do metal. Metal's a whole different beast now. It's kind of, I prefer not to do it when I have such a product like this. But I've been doing it. I have 3 right now that I'm working on putting work orders in for metal. So it's still pretty. But when you have a product that's as good as this, like I keep every color and every profile in my truck wherever I go because it's just that essential in the Black Hills.
So what was here before and why they were replacing metal roof 5 times? All 5 times with metal?
All from hail. I know at least 3 of them are from metal. The last one that I know we had to replace it because of the hail. The last time it was about as beefy as metal you could get, 24 gauge, standing seam, very beautiful roof, but it just didn't hold up.
Did we have hail on this roof again?
Not big damaging stuff yet. We've had a couple of small storms come through here. It definitely hasn't had a scuff on it.
EuroShield has a class 4 impact rating, and for storm areas where hail is an issue, insurance companies do provide a discount on homeowners insurance premiums. Those discounts can be pretty significant. For our product, we fall in a class 4 range, which is the best classification out there. But we would easily put our product against any other product on the market because it's so much tougher than a typical class 4 product. One thing that is really fun being part of the EuroShield team is after hailstorms, seeing events where unfortunately, communities are destroyed, but there can be a EuroShield roof there where there's absolutely nothing wrong with that roof. So it's kept the water out, there's no wind damage, and so the homeowner has peace of mind.
How many roofs have you replaced in your lifetime?
1, 2, 3, at least 3. The last one, once I come down and do my house here in Rapid City, it was just getting aged and a little bit of hail damage. So when I saw that YouTube video with a 3-inch ball of ice with a pneumatic cannon get shot at roofing material, and it just bounced off. Sold I was ready to go.
But about a year ago, following another pretty significant hailstorm in the hills, southern hills, we had some pretty significant damage to the shingles again. Sam brought up the EuroShield product. So since the installation, I haven't always been here for them, but I know about a month ago, the southern hills experienced a pretty significant hailstorm. We weren't here for it, but it was reported that it was 2 to 2.5 inch size. And so by the time we came back, we decided to do some checking. We looked around. We don't see any damage whatsoever. We are extremely happy with the EuroShield product.
My advice to a homeowner who is researching different products, maybe they've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4 replacements in the last 10 or 15 years and are really looking for a solution. Talk with your contractor, call us, look at the information online, and then potentially ask for referrals from other homeowners in your area as well.
So in keeping with part of the theme today, yeah, I certainly use some long form content, but you can also see as a company for ourselves, as a manufacturer, it doesn't matter if you're a manufacturer, contractor, having other people help tell your story. So it's not just coming from you, getting different perspectives. Short form, absolutely. Not everybody's going to sit and watch a 10-minute video, but if they have to decide if they're going to sign up and spend 20, 30, 40 plus grand, they're probably going to watch a video and they would like to see what it looks like from someone else's perspective and how, you know, you telling your story as a contractor as well. So as I mentioned in that video, part of what's fun about working for EuroShield and being a product that really is ahead of the curve is being able to see how homeowners are protected after major events. So this is a picture of 2 houses side by side in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where we produce the product with a $1.4 billion hailstorm in 2020. Baseball size hail, as many of you know, because you're in storm areas. It's extremely devastating. So the neighborhood basically looks like a hail zone. Vinyl siding literally just hanging from the house. The shingles didn't look a whole lot better. And next to it, these windows are actually broken out. And so there's glass on the first story shingles, but absolutely nothing wrong with those. That is not even our hail-proof product. It's how effective it is to have a product like rubber in your formula. Last video, this is just a quick 30-second one. It shows part of the reason that WeatherTight has done so well in the Rapid City, South Dakota area is because in 2018, they had a roof that they had installed a few years prior in EuroShield, rubber roof, hit Leeds, South Dakota, which is a small town about 45 minutes outside of Rapid City, and certainly devastating type damage for, let's see, for the homeowners. Those of you that have seen it have seen, it knocks out windows in vehicles as well as homes. Yeah, even 24 gauge standing seam just can't hold up when you're talking about zones like that. So, you know, ahead of the curve, what does that mean for you? What does it mean for your business? And today, you know, there's been a lot of discussion around education, training, technology, marketing tools, and products, really to do something better, to do something different, to stay ahead of the curve. And so many of you are here, because you're wanting to gain that knowledge, continue to better your business. And so, really ask yourself, okay, why and how do you want to grow it? What's your message to your customers? What's your message to your community, your employers, and yourself? We're going to have some fun here shortly. Is there anything else you'd like me to cover before?
Anybody have any questions about EuroShield or how you guys can start selling it? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you do in-house trainings? If we have a company in Ontario, a friend of mine has a company in Ontario, Canada.
Mhm.
Do you have somebody come in and train how to install, train the crew, and spend some time on site with them to show them how to install?
Yeah, it depends a little bit on the region. We do, like I mentioned, everything is out of Calgary. And so in the case of Ontario, we have someone by the name of Andy Mima, the roof supply company, that would come in and make sure that any questions are answered for the contractors in Ontario. And here, and then it depends on the region within Canada. Here in the States, in the Southeast, we got David, we got Susan, myself, and Taylor that help support the US as well. We do have online overview videos. We have detailed install guides. A lot of times we use the power of technology. FaceTime and WhatsApp video conferencing goes a long way to take the edge off the crew and the fear factor of doing something different. And it's good they care, because they're about to put on a permanent roof that needs to go on right, it needs to go on once. But yes, we want to make sure as a company that we are helping to provide that support, because obviously if it's good for the crew, it's good for the contractor, it's good for us, it's good for the homeowner.
Do you mind if I ask you a company question, not so much a product question? That's okay?
You can ask.
Okay. Your earlier video referred to JAF and some of the manufacturers that are there, and what they've tried to do with shingles and trying to manufacture those, which hasn't been successful. How long do you think it is, or do you think there's a possibility that a GAF, let's just say, catches on to what you're doing and sees the success that you've had, and they decide that they're going to do the same thing with their buying power to step in and buy those tires, and then use their leverage of, hey, you're a certainty this, or you're a JF this, with a contractor, to force them to only use their product, which is rubberized? And is that a problem that you could foresee in the future, because people are loyal to the manufacturers based on the rebates and the certain level that may have achieved with them?
I guess, at some point, if we get to the point where there aren't enough used tires out there,
maybe
that's a positive.
Is that a problem?
It's not something that's a problem today. So we absolutely are, a major consumer in our province for recycled tires, but it is still something where, from a used tire perspective, we get calls because there's still not enough uses for used tires out there. So people wanting to supply it, but it's not a product that makes sense to put fuel into shipping around, because there's so much of it. Yeah.
Let me add on to that real quick. From being in the industry and watching it for more than 20 years, the big manufacturers have no interest in creating a roof that's designed to last for a lifetime.
Nope.
They have zero desire to install a roof once and never make money from that homeowner or that contractor again. So it's just not in the business model. So good question.
Whenever I listening about the manufacturers not wanting to get rid of shingles, like I was saying earlier, there's 600 million buildings here in the United States, and not one of us in here will roof all of those. So even if we're trying to save the earth one roof at a time, it's going to take many of years to do so. But people are still in it for the money.
Yep.
That's a good point.
So.
And there is good money in EuroShield too, because where our price point falls, if somebody asks me, what's the con of EuroShield? We are always working to see what we can do to make this more efficiently, to bring down the overall cost. And we have morphed through that 23 years. And a big part of that is how to bring it into a price range where more and more people can get into it. Are we where we want to be ultimately yet? No, but we continue to improve. We are really the lowest initial cost non-asphalt premium product on the market.
That's great.
You
intend on producing any other house covering products? Actually, I have just second question. As far as the color lasting on the roof, I don't know if you mentioned anything about that as far as like fading or anything like that. Since it's synthetic, it's kind of
Yeah, absolutely. Good questions. So yes, we look at other building materials. We do have a prototype siding. It comes down to balancing where we put our resources. Right now, our focus for this off season, rather than bringing the siding into play, is to make the shingles more efficiently. So make one at a time right now. Our goal is to make them two at a time, which obviously brings down costs, more people to get into it. We have a very simple business model. We probably don't make as much as we should. Real similar to an asphalt on the back side. It doesn't sit and depth like an asphalt shingle. Asphalt shingle is amazing. Actually, is in Chicago, again with the contractors and homeowners, and also cedar shake. Reduced cooling. It's actually better than asphalt. Color. So, UV is hard on anything. So, it's not that there's going to be zero color change. Black's going to stay black. What happens is the color itself, we're using natural pigments, which are better than, some of the synthetic pigments. pigments, but over time, UV breaks down color. So when UV breaks down color, a product is going to fade towards a gray or a light color because they use a gray or a white base. Our base is black. And so if anything, our shingle will darken. One of the things you'll see, what are two biggest questions that homeowners, really will ask. One, is it going to stay shiny? No. Just like a tire, it can't. And unless you armor all it, and then that's not good for the warranty, because we say don't be putting chemicals on your roof. And sorry, number, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So from a color perspective, if anything, it'll go dark. Oh, odor. That's it. Common question, right? We are a make-to-order factory. If you order 162 bundles, we produce 162 bundles and so it could take a few weeks. The sheen could take a few months. If it's a winter, that'll take a little longer than that. But if you go walk down the sidewalk or sit in the backyard of a home that has yellow shit on the roof, you're not going to know it smell. So then there's a tapered groove right up above the reveal of the shingle. It locks, and then you're nailing it on with 1 3/4 roofing nails.
One is about the oxidation. So as it oxidizes and changes the colors or loses the sheen, is there going to be anything coming off the roof to like stain the gutters, the drip edge, that type of thing, like you see in the EPDM or come down?
Tobacco juicing.
Yeah, no, we don't have issues with staining of fascia. It doesn't really matter. Basically, the product that we stock, you take a bead of Solar Seal 900. It adheres very well to our rubber shingle. Not everything does, and it keeps some amount of flex. And you're basically creating a gasket around the backside of that. You're fixing it to the roof. And then the 2 screws, if you just fill the holes full of sealant and drag that through as well. It doesn't, as long as you're using the sealant and the manufacturer's product that we use, Alpine Guard PD30Z. Or are we good?
We're over time, but you'll still have more opportunities to ask Leslie more questions during the Hail Cannon firing event. We need to get to John, and then in about 30 minutes, we're going to start the Hail Cannon firing. So please keep those questions, and then we'll come back to you if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I have.
Got it. Be more right here than anything else, so I can put it on this side if that's better for you.
Yeah,
go ahead. You want me to move it over here? Switch mic. Is that better frame wise for you?
Yeah.
Good? All right. Oh, let me put this one on.
Almost looks like a